Nation and mining family, what is going on? We got Patrick coming in with the what's happening? What's happening? Good morning to everybody from the toy shop. Yep. So like the title says, I'm gonna be giving the engine a tune, not a tune up, but retuning the motor. Um, a couple of years ago, I was kind of fighting a I don't know how, like it started backfiring a little bit. So I started, I was like, well, maybe I got a little too aggressive with the tune-up on it, and so I untuned the motor, put it to a bass tune, and then started going back at it. What's up? I see some chat here. It's so hard to see this. It's like, I'll tune you, shakes fist. So typically, I know my Chevelle, it burns a little bit of oil, and because of my headers, I've got short little I have my shorter spark plugs. They're not your standard spark plugs, and I've got the smallest boots to get behind my long tube headers. Problem that I have with it is two of the header pipes get really close to the ignition wire, and there's really not enough room in there. I'd like to get a different set of headers on here. Even with a boot, one of the boot protectors on top of it, it still will tend to burn a plug wire. So I started having like a backfire. It wasn't misfire, and that was what was weird. It would backfire. So I was like, well, maybe I got too aggressive on my tune with the spark advance and where I had the carburetor set up for. This time around, I found out that I had a burnt wire, and it was like the world's smallest pinhole burn up. Yo, what up? Let's go, hoot, 1, 2, 3, wrong stream. What's up, Rude, my dude? What's up? The license plate in the background, FYI, I know you're covering the other ones. Oh, yes, so these ones that you'll see on my wall, they have nothing to do with me. These were cars that I have that I basically redid for customers. Customers would have brought their vehicles to me that hadn't been titled. I restore the vehicle here in the garage, and then I boot them back out. So these are like license plates, even the ones that I have right above my toolbox over here, has nothing to do with me. So you guys can sit there and Google search all this stuff, and none of these license plates are valid. So you're not going to really. I'm not worried about a non-valid license plate being shown to vehicles that aren't even here. So I don't even think that one's mine. I know the ones that are over here, they were all customer vehicles, like every last one of them. I don't think I put any of mine in here. Do not believe so. It's just customer vehicles. I'll cover up active plates, because then you can actively track those plates down with with no money down. An old expired plate like this, to track it down, you're going to spend money in order to do that. And if somebody wants to go through all of that trouble to find out that it has nothing to do with me or my house, I like that. Let you go down a wild goose chase. So, but good looking out, Patrick. I love it. So we're going to go ahead today and talking about doing a distributor tune. So you're basically setting your base tune on your vehicle. This is the manual way of doing things, guys. And I'm going to show the tools required for this. And we'll also double check the carburetor, make sure that my idle mix screws are set properly. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into some of the tools necessary. Now, I know a lot of you guys out there are pretty young, and I don't know how many of you guys golf at all, but a golf tee is a very necessary item in order to do a distributor tune-up. Well, not tune-up, we're going to retune the distributor. I need this golf tee. You will have seen this in your grandpa's toolbox. I think everybody's grandpa here, maybe if you're old enough, your dad, everybody had a golf tee in their toolbox. Why? Same reason why I have one. So basically on the distributor itself, guys, so if you guys are unaware how a distributor really works, right? So it's distributing power. Where is it distributing this power to? The spark plugs. This is for those people who are not car savvy people. So for all of you guys that know how these older cars run, like Sadie, you guys know what I'm talking about. So, you know, this is just like a refresher course for you guys. Everybody else that has never dealt with carburetors, distributors, you know, you've only seen modern car with ignition coils and sensors, right? Well, back in the day, everything had to be mechanical. And with these mechanical devices, you had to have a way to be able to set the base tune on there because it didn't have a computer to override anything. So it was based very much mechanical, and with the distributor, it has an ignition coil, so you're still not getting rid of the ignition coil. You're just not talking about like the modern day ignition coil packs. Because the ignition coil packs basically is the distributor and the ignition coil built on the one platform, right? So you'll have your distributor, which, you know, for the new coil pack systems is what the coils actually plug into. That's the new modern distributor. Now there's no real tune for it because it's all being controlled on a PC, in the computer on the car, right? So with the older systems, you had to know where each cylinder was. So with the old cars, you have a crank position sensor, and that tells the computer where cylinder 1 is. Can't fire up a car if it doesn't know where cylinder 1 is, right? Don't want to fire up a car, try to fire fuel up in between, you know, on an exhaust stroke. Why would you be firing it up on an exhaust stroke? Doesn't make sense. You need to fire it on a power stroke, right? So with that being stated, that, you know, the older system, how does it know where cylinder 1 is? How does it know where a specific power stroke is for the vehicle, right? Because we don't want to sit there and waste a spark. We want to make sure that spark goes to a power stroke where it's got fuel, oxygen, it's compressed it, and it now goes boom and pushes the piston back down, right? We want to make sure that timing relationship is spot on, right? So the distributor has a gear that goes down into the motor. Now it doesn't matter if you're dealing with Dodge, Ford, GM, Toyota from back in the day. The only thing that made a difference is where they decided to locate the distributor. But all platforms use the distributor in the same exact way, right? You got a base time, so if you had just spun the distributor, it would basic fire your car. Now, would it run good? No. It will run, and it'll be enough to be able to see how it's running, right? That's what they call the base tune. So it's basically firing up a little after, it's going to fire just slightly before top dead center. It starts the ignition process, and that's going to be your base tune. Now, what affects this is going to be your demand. So how much RPM or how much throttle are you giving it? It's not going to sit there and detect how much throttle you're giving it. It's going to detect the engine RPM. And as the engine RPM goes up, it needs to spark faster, right? And it has to go through all 8 cylinders. So that's basically what the distributor is going to be doing, is it's going to tell the distributor about when the base timing needs to fire. And then it's got a little rotor in there that's going to sweep around, and anytime the ignition coil energizes and it crosses over, and I'm kind of going to basically give it a little bit more of a broad overview. If you guys want a deep dive on distributors, certainly put comments in down below if you guys really want a complete deep dive of how a distributor operates and all of that stuff. It's not something that is very prominently seen in modern day cars unless you're dealing with race cars. It's realistically the only time that you're going to see distributors these days. And even with the modern race cars, they're fully electronic now for the most part. I mean, there are some people that will race on the older platforms, but for the most part, they're all electronic. So a setup like this, most people won't ever really see in their lifetime. So, like I said, you know, one of the first tools that we need is this golf tee. Why do we need a golf tee? Well, like I said, the engine's going to know RPM, so it's going to know when to fire up each cylinder according to RPM, right? And there's two ways that the distributor will kind of advance itself. So as you go higher in RPM, your advance needs to, the spark needs to happen sooner, because by the time it fires up that plug, it's closer to top dead center, because the motion of the engine is so much faster, right? So we need to make sure that we are putting this thing in the base timing whenever we're setting the timing. So first off, you're not going to want to have too high of RPM, because there is a mechanical weight set in there that will help advance the timing. So basically it starts to spark. The faster you rev the motor, the sooner the spark happens, and it happens in a shorter amount of time. So you're giving the coil less time to energize because you're going faster, which means you need a hotter spark. It's harder to fire up an ignition coil at high RPMs because your energizing cycle is so small. You know what? I have to do one thing really fast. I forgot to do it, and that is I need to slide my trash cans out the street before trash comes in. I forgot to do that. 1 second, guys. I'm so sorry about this. Have to do it. Oh, sorry about that. I had to put my trash out to the street really quick. Trash day! Woo! All right, so like I was saying, so whenever you're trying to put, whenever your engine's going faster, it's going to need to have the spark happen in a shorter duration and sooner, so that when it finally does spark, like I said, it's closer to top dead center to push the piston back down. Ooh, a little out of breath, I ran. And so it's got a mechanical weight that will, as the engine RPM goes up, the mechanical weights slide out and it will advance the rotor. And there is one other way to do that too. So, like I said, there's no sensor on there that's going to detect throttle input like a new car, because you got a throttle body sensor that's going to tell the computer how much the throttle plate's open, right? This is the mechanical car. There is no sensors on here for that. How does the car know when you've cracked that throttle open really, really far, right? How can it possibly know? Well, that's where the golf tee comes in, guys. Yo. So why do I need this? Because there is a vacuum modulator on the distributor. What does this vacuum modulator do? When you crack your throttle open, the vacuum in the intake drops down, right? And as that vacuum drops down, this little vacuum actuator will sit there and start pulling and advancing the distributor again. So you need to put this into that vacuum modulator, into the tube. You unplug the tube off the vacuum modulator and you shove this into the tube so you don't introduce a vacuum leak. This stops a vacuum leak. Super simple. It's the same diameter as the vacuum modulator for the vacuum advanced. So this will fit inside the tube. And once you take off the vacuum off of this thing, basically that vacuum modulator will bottom out all the way and retard the timing. In other words, it's going to bring the timing to base timing. With a little bit of vacuum, it just bumps the timing up just a little bit. Just a little bit. Not much, but enough. So you need to sit there and take that out, and it basically puts you into base timing mode. Now, if your RPM is set too high, you will have the same problem, right? So for people who are unknowing about this and you've got, man, my RPM, I'm sitting at 1200 RPM on my engine and I'm trying to tune this thing. Full stop. You got to bring your engine speed for a automatic. You need to be right around 900 RPM in idle. This is normal. And that's with the vacuum on there. Now, the moment you take this, you take the vacuum advance off and you put the golf tee into the tube, your RPM will drop down just a little bit, and then you can sit there and get your base timing. Now, if you want to sit there and figure out, like, hey, how do I get base timing? Well, on the crankshaft itself, there's like a little indicator plate right above the crankshaft. There's the harmonic balancer, and then on the other side of the harmonic balancer is the pulley for your serpentine belt system, or for my case, my V-belt system. And there's a little mark on my crankshaft, on the harmonic balancer of the crankshaft. There's a little line on there. And once I put this thing in the base timing mode, and I've got this thing sitting there idling, of course you want to have the engine warmed up. You don't want to do this on a cold motor. Cold idle and warm idle are two different things, and how they respond vacuum-wise and spark needs, you know, how it's burning all the fuel will also change. So I've already warmed up my Chevelle, so I got a little bit of heat into that motor, so we are good to go on that aspect. Yeah. So what are the other tools? How are we going to be able to tell where that line is while the engine's running, right? We got 900 RPM on the motor. You ain't seeing no damn line on there. We got a few different tools right over here. Each one of these are basically the same thing. They're all the same thing, just different flavors of the same device, guys. So we'll pull this one up first. This is a timing light, guys. Yo, everything is backwards on there, and I don't know how to fix that. So this is a Craftsman timing light. This one was from my dad. So this thing is like about 50, almost 50 years old. This is a tried and true full metal Craftsman. I mean, this is metal, dude. It's heavy. And basically, it's a little strobing light on there. You hook up power and ground, you know, basically your battery. And then it's got this weird little clamp. Yo, what's this for? You can put it on your finger. You can put it on if it's small enough. But this goes onto spark plug number 1. So you need to know how to find spark plug number 1 on an engine, and then you clamp this onto that, give it some power, and then with it in base timing mode, you point this down at the crankshaft, right where the indicator plate is, and you're going to see where it's at. Now this indicator plate has a few different numbers on there. You know, it's got a 0, which is top dead center. Then it's got a 4, an 8, and a 12. 4 degrees of timing, 8 degrees of timing, 12 degrees of timing, right? This is your timing marks. So you basically, you can take your distributor and you turn it right and left, and that'll take that mark as it's, every time it fires up cylinder 1, it will show me where the mark is. Every time cylinder 1 fires, this light will strobe. So now I'm trying to sit there and make that timing mark come back into play of where I want it. Now, from the factory, this thing's sitting at around 600 RPM, which would be base timing. It would be base idle. And I sit there and I make this fire up and I adjust it until I get 8 degrees of timing. This is a conservative timing setup on here. It'll be the most fuel efficient because it won't let you get up to the higher end speed. Now, if you want to get a little bit more power out of her, get her to fire up a little bit nicer, get a higher top speed, then you're going to need to advance it a little more. Now, some of this advancement will depend on the camshaft that you have in there. So if you got an aftermarket camshaft and it's aggressive, you can probably go a little bit higher on the timing. If you've got a stock camshaft like I have in here, mine's completely stock. I've never opened up my motor. This motor is from 1974 and it has 150,000 miles on it. All original miles, 150,000 original miles on this motor. Yes, she needs a rebuild. She needs to be freshened up for sure. She burns a little bit of oil, which was normal. And you know, it's like I would like to pull the heads off, mill the heads, get the compression up a little higher, get some more performance out of her. Yeah, but not necessary. She runs, she's great. She does burnouts, I'm happy, right? Does everything I need it to do. It's a car. So basically, this is one of the ways of doing it. This is an old school timing light. It just literally strobes a light. You won't be able to find that gun anymore. This one, same thing, but now we're talking about plastic. This is a much newer timing light. Much newer. Super cheap. This is probably one of the cheapest timing lights that you could probably buy on the market. I'm not sure what the price is on this stuff. I haven't needed to buy one in like ages. So this one here will, it does all the same stuff. You can tell I like let go of the cable and it like decided to tangle itself. Amazing. So same thing as the one that my dad gave me. We've got our power and ground on this. And then we've got the cylinder 1 piece on here, right? So bam, that's awesome. Good stuff right here. Nothing overcomplicated with this stuff. Power knows when it's just this is what they call an amp clamp. So anytime it detects amperage, it'll strobe the light. That's how it works. Super simple. And here is another example. Again, this one is a much newer style. Again, it's a plastic one. This is the one that I purchased a long time ago. This is the one that I actually prefer to utilize. Why do I prefer to utilize this one? Well, it's because of all of this back here. So we'll start over here. I can do two cycle or 4 cycles. So if I've got a a dirt bike, a snowmobile, and I'm trying to figure out, is this thing firing at the right timing? Because if you've got a 2 cycle that's got an old ignition system on there, you can sit there and adjust your reluctor and change your timing just a little bit. It'll be more basic with a 2-stroke versus 4-stroke. You're not going to see the setup on my motor here with the 4-stroke. This thing will also give me engine RPM. So I don't have to go into my car to check my engine RPM. It makes life a lot easier with this. And then it's got my little strobe light on there. Hit that, start strobing. We're good to go. Again, same stuff as before. We got power and ground with my amp clamp. And this is my weapon of choice. Just saying. So we're gonna go ahead and get some of this stuff up and rolling. So like I said, the first thing that I'm gonna check out here is gonna be taking off of my my valve cover, I mean not my valve cover, my air cleaner cover off the carburetor. And I'm gonna check my my idle mix screws, because it's a carburetor, the engine vibrates a little bit. Over time, the engine idle mix screws will back out a little bit. So typically every so often I've got to go in there, bottom the screws out, and it's 1.5 turns coming back out. That is base idle on a carburetor. If you are, let's say, 2 turns out, that's okay. They say it's 1.5 turns plus or minus 1/2 turn to get your idle right, the idle mix proper. If you are at 2.5 turns out, your carburetor is too small, or you have a port that's clogged. Very common on old carburetors that if old gas gets in there and it dries out, guess what? Old gas drying out is varnish, and that stuff will gum up your carburetor quicker than anything else. It's some of the reason why I use seafoam in my gas tank. Every few fill-ups at the gas station, I put some seafoam into the tank, and it makes my car run better because the seafoam is going through the carburetor and helping clean out any of that varnish. It's not going to be perfect, but it's good maintenance. So first, like I said, the first thing we're going to start off with here is taking off my air cleaner and making sure my carburetor is set properly. So without any further ado, let's get into that. Sorry guys. Bam, just like that. All right. Air cleaner. If you guys are unfamiliar with these older cars, this is the air cleaner. Get my spacer out of the way here. Pull that up. That air is a carburetor. Put this off to the side here. Get that all out of the way. Now, there are 2 little screws, one here and then one underneath here. This is your fuel inlet into this car. This is a Rochester carburetor, GM car. The only thing that's not on here would be the choke plate, which would come right here. And during cold startups, the plate would close, not allowing as much oxygen to come in and giving it more fuel to fire it up while it's cold. And then once it warms up, that plate opens up all the way. Somebody before I got the car decided that that was a bad feature and removed it. Not that it really needs it during the summertime, but if you start this thing up on a cold morning, you can tell. So like I said, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check out these screws and make sure they're in all the way. So I got to grab a screwdriver. And we just turn these things in as far as we can. This one is always the easy one to get after. And I need a light down in here so that I can see. All right, so that's bottomed out. And half, 1, and a half. So that's 1.5 right there. Go to the other screw, because this thing's got 2 pieces to it. And this one's a little harder to see and get to. All right. right, so that one's now bottomed out. Half. 1 and a half. So now we are good to go all the way around. And the other thing you want to check while you're in here, guys, I know it sounds weird, but there is vacuum ports all over this carburetor. You want to make sure that the little plugs are in good shape. Pretty much every 4 or 5 years, you're going to be replacing all the little plugs for all the various vacuum orifices that are on the carburetor. That is normal maintenance for these things. If you don't do that, you're going to be running in a very lean condition, and the engine will not run right, or you just won't get the full performance out of the motor. So now that I have that in that fashion, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fire this thing up and make sure that it's running good at this point. Look how easy that started. Bam, just like that. So that started up really nicely. I like that. And now we can go ahead and start setting this thing up for base timing. Now, when you're looking at a motor and you're looking at a V8, V6, a V8, a V12, whatever cylinder head is the farthest forward. So if you're looking at the belt system, right, where your serpentine belt is or your V belt, whatever valve cover is the most forward is going to be where cylinder 1 is. So on a GM, Ford, Dodge, with the motor, with the belts facing the front of the car, driver's side cylinder head is where cylinder 1 is. So on here is where it is. Now, it's not going to be like that. It's not that it's the be all end all when it comes down to that's how you figure it out. But I know from GM, this one will be the most forward. Now, the 3.8, and this is the reason why I say whatever cylinder head is the most forward. So like a Monte Carlo with a 3.8, and the motor's turned sideways where the belts would be facing you guys. The cylinder, if you took this motor and you turns it sideways, then the cylinder 1 would be the closest to the radiator. But on a 3.8 in the Monte Carlos, the cylinder 1 is actually up against the firewall. So it doesn't necessarily mean, that's why I always tell people, if you're in doubt of what side cylinder 1 is on, the belt system, whatever cylinder is the closest to the belt system is cylinder 1. This is a rule of thumb. So for this one, it's going to be driver's side, front spark plug, that's cylinder 1. So that's the cable I need to grab. So my cable is right here, right up on top here. You can sit there and just look at where the spark plug is and follow it up. Don't put your amp clamp near the exhaust system. You will burn it. Long tube headers get hot. I'm just saying. So let's go ahead and get my trusty timing light here. Now I tend to put my timing light like right about here whenever I'm not touching it. You want to put it in an area where it's not going to hit the belt system or fan blades. And first thing I do is I'll grab my clamps here, put it onto my battery. And as you see, I've got power. I have power on here, but I've got no signal reference, so I've got no RPM. And then with the amp clamp here, depending on your style of timing light, Sometimes they have an arrow on there telling you which direction needs to point to the cylinder 1. This one is a non-directional, so it doesn't matter how I clamp it on, just make sure that it's in an area where it's not going to get caught on anything. So as you see here, I'm putting it behind stuff and getting down to the cable here. This way it's not going to hit anything. Nothing in here is going to be tagged. That's the first thing that you want to make sure that nothing here can interface with this. The next thing that I got to do, grab my golf tee. Why? Because right down here, oh, you can't even see that. It's hard to see. There's a lot of stuff in here. There is a little vacuum part on here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to unhook the hose. Just like that. Got the hose. I'm going to take my golf tee and I'm going to shove it in there. So I'm not introducing a vacuum leak. And I can now fire this up. It's bouncing around right around that 600 RPM mark. And you can see the light's on. just put this thing, as I was messing with the timing, it changed the engine RPM, so I had to drop the engine RPM down just a little bit. And then I was able to set the base timing on this. Now I may need to redo the engine RPM speed once I rehook up the vacuum, but I needed to get this thing to about 600 RPM to set the base idle on this. And then from here, basically I can hook everything back up. There we go. Good old golf club tee. All right, now I can sit there, start the car up. Actually, she's doing pretty good. I like my idle to be a little bit higher. I don't like it to be so low-key because it becomes a little unstable while you're, like if it's cold. Awesome. So that's basically how you tune your stuff up. You make sure that your base idle screws for your idle mix is set to your 1.5 plus or minus a half a turn to get it to run right. Make sure that you take out your idle solenoid and or your vacuum solenoid, and you plug up the port. So you put the ignition timing into base timing mode. You make sure that your engine RPM is right at that 600 RPM, And then I sit there and I start messing with the timing on there. And then once I put it back together, I bring the carburetor back, the engine RPM speed to about 900 RPM while it's in park. Because whenever I put it in a drive, I should be right around 650 RPM when I pop it into drive, and that's a good spot to be at. And then from here, you can basically start cleaning up. La-da-da. All right, here. All right, so that was nice and easy, guys. Bring this all around here. Get this all out of the way. Alright, so all of that's back together, and let's go ahead and put my air cleaner back on this. And does it need to be cleaned? So my air cleaner looks like it needs to be cleaned. It is a reusable air cleaner for the wind, so I'm going to go ahead and clean this out real fast. As soon as I find what I do with all the stuff for it. What did I do with it? Put y'all up in here. There's the Holly rebuild. There's that. There's that. What did I do with it? Cleaned everything up, now I don't know where it's at. I will have to find this. What did I do with it? Well, I'll at least blow it out because it's still like I can still feel all the oil on there. I'll go ahead and blow it out. At least make sure that it's breathing halfway decent. And I don't know how well this will work on it. Let me try this really fast here. I've never tried to do what I'm about to do here. I'm going to try to show you guys what you're looking for when you're looking in an air filter on if it's good, dirty or not, right? Let me see if I can do this. You see the light? There's no light. Light. You see how you can see through it? Hey, this works. This is how you can tell you got a clean air filter. Yo. Hey, that actually worked out better than I thought it was going to. Ha ha, yeah. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and put my my bottom piece back on here. Make sure that it sits and that you can move it and it's not interfering with anything. It should be able to sit down like this without an issue. Put this right up on top. And then this will hold everything in place. Grab my spacer here. And my little GM hold down. Just like that. Ba-bam. Now, if you really wanted to get down and dirty on this, and you're like, hey, you're going to be breathing in a lot of hot air here. That is true. You could go the extra mile and put a little diverter plate here so that the fan pulling the air from the radiator doesn't just blow the hot radiator air right onto the front of this. So you could put a little diverter here if you're really that worried. On a normal application like this, it's not so much of a problem. Now, if I was racing this, you damn straight I'd be doing that. I'm just saying. There would be no way that this radiator would be pouring hot air onto there, because I would rather this thing be breathing in cool, clean, fresh air by any means necessary. And I'm seeing dust on stuff, and I'd like to keep it somewhat nice looking here. Anytime that I come into here, I tend to try to give it a quick little wipe down of sorts. Just because it's like the only times that I'm really in here, except for when I go to a show. When I go to car shows, I clean this a lot more. But this is really, I haven't been into the car too many times this year. So I'm taking the advantage of the fact that I'm right here. All right, bam, just like that. So this is pretty much all set and done now. You guys got any comments or questions of any sort, even after the video, certainly put them into the comments down below, even if this is not live. I'm certainly here to help people out. This is, outside of crypto, guys, this is my other passion. This is my other passion, is working on cars. So that's pretty much everything here in a nutshell. Being that this is a 74 Chevelle, this used to have emission stuff on here. This is a California car. So this thing used to have a catalytic converter on here. Over here, that I got my hand on right now, it's an old charcoal canister for evaporative emissions from the fuel tank. And then this thing would have had a hose, which I've got tied up over here, that would have went back to the carburetor that I have blocked off. The distributor so the distributor that I have in here is out of a 75 vehicle. So 74 for GM was the last year for the ignition points. I upgraded it to an HEI system just because it is a hotter spark, which means more power. So I've still got the original distributor though. I did not throw it away. I did not sell it. I have any original part that I've taken off of this car, I have it still. The only thing that I don't have is the original carburetor, which I can't find because it's a 1 year only carburetor. So if anybody has a 74 GM carburetor, Rochester, it was the first year for emissions. They weren't that big of a carburetor. It's still 4-barrel, but they lacked a lot of horsepower. It was robbing the motor badly. I would just like to have the original one on, not on here, but have the original one. This way I could say, I've got all the original parts. So if anybody ever comes across a 74 4-barrel carburetor that was from a California car, hit me up immediately, guys. I will buy it. So, this motor is 99% all original. Like I said, the carburetor and the distributor are the two non-original pieces on here, but I have the original distributor. So that's not a problem. And yeah, so that's pretty much everything in a nutshell on this car. This thing is running tip-top shape. I like it. So you guys got any comments or questions of any sort, fellas? Anything at all? Four Barrel loves petrol. It's like, I will look if there makes... I just want to see the chat. I will look at it, into it in any car that shows swaps this summer. Oh, that is awesome, Sadie. Thank you, Sadie. I've been looking for 10 years. So let me just put it that way. In the last 10 years, it does not exist in my area. So, unfortunately. Yeah. So, anybody got any other comments or questions before I head up out of here? I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll leave you to the sounds of the motor. Swaps down here aren't near as good as the Midwest, but I'll check. Oh, that's awesome. Still, you never know. Some old timer might have it. Oh, MC. MC with the comment. I like that. So, let me. Let's move it around here a little bit. So MC, since you're in California, let's see if you might be able to find it. It is a 1974 Rochester carburetor, but it has to be carb compliant for 74. Has to be a 74. It was only done in 74 like this. So if you're able to find a 1974 Rochester carburetor with full emissions on it, hit me up. I will buy it off of you. I mean, the carburetor ain't worth a whole lot overall because it's an emissions carburetor. It's not a performance. It really restricted the motor. I mean, with the carburetor from California on here, it would have had like around 200 horsepower because that's how restrictive that carburetor is. And it's some of the reasons why I've never been able to find one is because people who got those threw it away. 74 Rochester. Yep. Rochester carburetor. It's 1974 Rochester carburetor. That's the manufacturer of the carburetor. And 74 is the year. It has to be a California emissions carburetor. I know that I'll never find the original one that would have been numbers matching. Yeah, full emissions carb, got it. Yeah, but it can't be any one. It's got to be the 1974. And it's got to be California emissions, carb compliant. You know, California automotive, something like it's their emission standard. So Chevelle, right? Yes, 74 Chevelle carburetor has to be California emissions. Otherwise, it's no different than what I've already got on there. My carburetor that I have on here right now is a 78 Rochester. So I need a 74 Rochester. Not that I'm going to take this carburetor off and swap it with the California carb, but like I said, I'd like to have all the original pieces for this car. That'd be amazing. Because I would say that my car is I'd say 90% original. 90%. The front seats are not original. My carpet's not original. Paint's not original. Everything else is. Transmission, engine, rear end, all numbers matching. So, and this thing is now firing up without even hesitation. I love it. Absolutely love it. And it is steamy in here, guys. Woo! I hope I gotta put my other two tools away real fast. Whew. It is a steamy one today. And thank you everybody who's been watching this. certainly smash that like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification, especially if you like hot rod stuff or just automotive repairs in general. If you guys dig it, certainly smash that like button. Now that I've got this together, the only thing I got to do next is do an oil change on this, grease up the suspension on this, and she's good for the summer. I've put a new transmission filter in here, refilled that back up, so the transmission's topped off and running nice. And my now I just got to do an oil change on her, grease up the suspension, and like I said, she's good to go to car shows. And guys, expect to start seeing Saturday car shows. This will be a thing on here. I'm going to be bringing this, I mean, it's summertime. I don't have a bazillion things going on. I plan on going back to doing car shows, so you guys are going to be coming along for a ride. If you guys like car shows and hot rods, you're going to enjoy this. We'll sit there in orange pill people at the car shows with the coolest car out there. I mean, I've parked this bad boy next to Ferraris and Lamborghinis, and my car still had more people standing around it than supercars, because my car is amazing. It's awesome. Oh, whew, it is warm in here. My cup is like profusely sweating. And I still don't have any of my AC units hooked up into my windows for my house, because I'm learning how to live without the AC stuff. Let's see here. I saw that for, like, YouTube needs to sit there and like allow me to see this a little bit longer. If you can, James Dean is a two-city car show where you grew up. Nice. Probably a 3-hour drive, but worth it. Yeah, but you gotta like, if you send me the link, MC, I've got to look at the part number on the carburetor to make sure how can I put it? There are part numbers that are on each carburetor, and I've got to sit there and look at it, because some carburetors you'll find they're for Buicks, they're for Oldsmobile, they're not for GM. They could be a Pontiac carburetor, not for my car. It might be the same year, but I've got to make sure that it's the one that would have been for my car. It doesn't have to be the actual one for my car, because I know I'll never find that. But also the Autobahn. Oh God, I hate YouTube with this. You guys gotta. It's like, okay, I got it. Send you the link. Thank you. Also the Autobahn cord and north of Fort Wayne, Indiana. Oh, the Duesenberg Festival. Oh yeah, I've always wanted to go do that. That is like a very prestigious event. I don't know if my car is prestigious enough. I mean, my car is not a showstopper. I would call my car a clean driver. My car is a driver's car. It's got a little bit of rust on it. It's got some dirt and grime on it. It's definitely not Concord prestige. It's a clean runner. I love it. I will drive the snot out of this thing. Doesn't bother me none. Some people don't like the idea of driving a lot of these. You put in $100,000 into a car, your odds of driving it go down, because you're like, I'm not destroying $100,000 because some dingbat out there decided to cut you off. My car, on the other hand, I've got like 7,000 into the car. Yes, I would be heartbroken if this car ever got into an accident. I would be absolutely heartbroken. but I'm not destroying a $100,000 car. You know, I can easily make this a $100,000 car. I mean, this thing is rare. It's one of the rarest CHEVELLEs ever made in '74, because it was made the 7th week of '74. And how you can tell that it's an early model is that, like I said, if you guys caught my video from yesterday, my rear quarter window, I've got what they call an opera, the opera window, instead of a full quarter glass. So therefore, my CHEVELLE is a very early model. You didn't see too many of them being put together with a 400 small block, a TH350 trans, and a posi 10-bolt main rear end. Or I'm sorry, 12-bolt main rear end. I've got a 12-bolt main rear end, 400 small block, and the TH350. All numbers matching. And I saw a thing pop up. Huge swap area too. Oh, nice. Yeah, maybe I'll go check that out. Depends on what all I've got going on. If I can make it to a further away without it depends on what kind of obligations I have. Posi 12 bolt. Oh yeah. Yeah, posi 12 bolt main rear end that I've replaced the axle half shafts on. And just to find out, that axle is a 1-year axle also. My axle is 1 inch long. My axle half shafts are 1 inch longer than any other one. 1 inch longer on each side. So my axle overall length is a little bit longer than the previous year. So mine's a 2nd gen 12 bolt main rear end. That's a little wider, because I believe my CHEVELLE is like 2 or 3 inches wider than the 72s. And I think that's what the difference is, because I tried to order up a standard 12 bolt main rear end. What was the problem no, I'm sorry. The original, the one that I tried to purchase, I'm sorry, I got the story all wrong. Let me recorrect that. The axle shafts, whenever I went to go order them up from Summit Racing, was 1 inch too long. I couldn't get the axle to drop in all the way. I pulled the axle out the axle shaft that I had, I measured it, and it was like 1 inch shorter. So my axle half shafts are a little different. And it's a 1-year only thing. And the gearing that I have in there is it is a it's like a 311. No. I know it's over. It's not your standard gearing in the rear end, because the standard gearing would have been like a 289 rear gearing, and I've got like it's been so long since I counted the splines on there, but I think it was like a 311 gear ratio in the back. I would like to get it to like a 355 gearing, but it'll be a different time. Might be 343. It might be 343. I know that it's not a standard gear setup in there, and whenever I looked at all the gearing on there, it's all standard. And Pontiac used the same gearing, so this rear end gear is utilizing the same rear end gear that Pontiac used for their Firebirds. So this thing is really snotty, to say the least. But you might be right, Sadie. It might be a 343 gearing on there. Home at last. I know that. Like I said, my CHEVELLE is one of the rarest CHEVELLEs ever made in '74. They made more convertibles than my car. They didn't have an SS in 74, 74 to 76. There was no SS Chevelles. It was replaced by the Laguna the i3. So this is this is rarer than the Laguna, rarer than a convertible. Less than 3% of all the Chevelles made in 74 had my options. Less than 3%. Which makes my car, even though it's not a desirable car because I don't have the 454 big block, and the only way that you can get the 454 big block is you had to have the Laguna. So the Laguna is more desirable than mine. The convertible is more desirable than mine. But mine is way more rare than both of those combined together. The convertibles in 74, they made 1,600 convertibles. They made 1,400 Lagunas. They don't even know how many they made with this option. They just, all the confirmation that I can find is that less than 1,000 of these were made. I'm not even playing. Less than 1,000 Chevelles in 74 had my options, that from the information that I can find. So, the next thing that my next little project's like, let's see here. I saw it for a second. Those 400s can be built into a beast. Yes, yes, yes. And so many people like the dog on the 400 small block. Or for you people that are newer and only know liters, this is a 6.6 liter V8. Not a big block though. It's still a small block, believe it or not. And it's not the Pontiac motor. This is not a Pontiac 400 because a Pontiac 400 and a Pontiac 455 were the same block. Identical block, different bore size, different piston size, different stroke lengths. Pontiac did not have a big block or a small block. Most people don't realize that Pontiac never did that. They had one engine block for their 400 and their 455s. Buick did not use Pontiac's 455. Buick's 455 motor is a big block engine. Keep that in mind, guys. So not all motors were the same, even if they had the same numbering. Pontiac's 400 is basic. Technically it's like a 401, but they couldn't call it a 401 because of Ford, right? So they call it the 400, where the 400 small block is more like a 400. You know, I think it's like 4.18, something like that, where the Pontiac 400 is like a 401.3, something like that. I forget how that one worked out. Oh, nice. That is awesome. Love it. Yeah, one of my early cars was a 78 Camaro, had the 305 in there, and swapped it out to the 632 big block. Oh. It's like, I get my flywheel back today. Now I can bolt the trans and rebuild the 2010 Camaro. Nice, nice. You got any power adders on there? Sorry, I'm trying to get my... Oh, with a Whipple supercharger. Nice, nice, nice. Oh, I love that. That is really cool. Ooh, Whipple supercharger. I love it. Let me see if I can. No, I can't. I've got it buried. I've got a supercharger for a 3.8 liter V6. Came out of a Monte Carlo with the it was the Dale Earnhardt edition. It's like a 671 blower that I kept. But on this bad boy right here, my Camaro, my 84 Camaro here, I want to do a blower from the blower shop. That would be my ideal thing. I'd like to get a blower shop blower. Get like an 871 or a 1071. If I can't, I'm going nitrous. Yeah, it's either I'm going to be doing an 871, 1071 blower, or I'm just going to bottle feed this bad boy here. Get about 4 kits of nitrous on here. Ooh. What up, Red Panda? Yo! You missed the whole stream, my dude. I was sitting here tuning up my Chevelle, guys. I'll give you a sneak peek, Red. This is what a real engine looks like. Oh, I could certainly do all of that. I could certainly do all of that, my dude. That's easy work. There we go. Perfect. Here we go. It's like, please drive down here. You're too far north. Drive down here. There's an Airbnb next door to me. Yeah. I bet. Oh yeah. It's like $2,000 to change out your muffler bearings too, and that check engine light needs a $4,000 run bad valve. Do it for $500, yeah, right. But yeah, this is pretty much what I like to tinker on right here. This is my jam, Red Panda. Dude, so expensive right now. Yes, 100%. Nice. I think I could do it because I have a TH350 in there. I guarantee you this is a lot easier to work on. Like literally you're pulling out a couple of clips and everything falls out. I hear it cost an arm and an Ice River KS0, Nice Chevelle. Yeah, I know, right? And I know. All original. Let's go ahead and fire it up for Red here. Red Panda needs to hear how clean this car runs for a 1974 Chevelle. Yo, that's what's up. So sensual. I know, right? It's like I just messed myself. Oh my God, a giggity. It's like, gotta go buy a damn license plate sticker. Illinois is killing us. You know it, Automatic Beats. I just got my sticker for this thing for Illinois too. It was bad.
Yeah, like $150 for something that's old as hell. If I read that right, let's see here. You want to add a Flowmaster Super 40 on your old truck. Super simple. Just bring it to an exhaust shop. Buy your exhaust, buy your muffler yourself, and find a little exhaust shop to weld it on there for you, and you're good to go. We all are automatic beats. We all are getting straight boned, dude. Illinois sucks. They're taxing the ever-loving bejeebus out of all of us here. It's like I'm doing what I can to get the hell out of here, but it's not like everything is, you know, and you know what I'm saying? It's like it's not like every state's perfect. There are places that are taxing people even more, and all that stuff. So, Flowmaster or Borla? Borla exhausts are really expensive. If you're doing a showstopper, Borla. If you are just wanting to make your vehicle sound nice, Flowmaster. Some states tax on the value. Yep, exactly. Let's see here. It's like, come to Michigan, we got smoke. Import from Canada. Thanks, Red. Oh my God. 240 in taxes on a 2016. Oh my God. That's crazy. Did a Flowmaster shorty Flowmaster. Oh yeah, those are nice too. Very, very nice. So does anybody got any other comments or questions before I head up out of here? Thank you everybody for being here. Definitely smash the like button and all that good stuff. $1,000 on the first year Honda Pilot. Oh my God, that's crazy. Absolutely crazy. I mean, there's places where they got personal property tax. That's stupid. Heck yeah, Patrick. Smash that like button, fellas. Helps me out with the, it's like, I love cars and crypto. Hell yeah, me too, Tristan. That's why I call myself Crypto and Hot Rods. Yo. It's like under 500 now. Nice, nice. Still, man, taxation is theft, and our forefathers would be rolling in their grave over what we're doing to ourselves. But thank you everybody for being here. All that good stuff. Definitely smash that like button before I head up out of here. We're at that hour and a half marker. You guys are absolutely loving this content. Love it, love it. And I'm going to start working on my bike over here too. So this bike right over here is going to be the next project that I get started up onto. I got to basically get a battery for this, fire her up, dial in the carburetor a little bit better than what it is right now, and then put all the covers back onto the motor and get some tires, and this thing is ready to get sold. So this is an 84 Honda V45 Magna. So if you guys are interested in it, I will have this for sale for probably a couple of grand. Once I get it all back together, it'll be amazing. I'm planning an electric motorcycle build. Nice. So with that being said, I'll leave you guys with a little motor noise.